The Church Growth and Giving Show, your resource for growing faithful communities. Brought to you by Vanco, helping tens of thousands of churches thrive for over 20 years. Join Jordan and Hannah as they share insights drawn from decades of church giving and engagement expertise.
So I've got something really exciting to talk about today, though I know some of you might be thinking, exciting? Really? But hear me out. We're diving into church audits. But here's the thing. Audits aren't just about finding errors or mistakes. They're actually about building trust.
When a church member makes a donation, they're putting their trust in church leadership to use that money wisely. Audits help guarantee that trust isn't misplaced.
I think that's such an important perspective shift. Instead of seeing audits as this big, scary inspection, seeing them as tools for transparency and stewardship.
Yeah, whether it's a simple church audit checklist or a deeper financial review, these processes ensure every dollar is accounted for, and your faith community is set up for long term growth.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a church audit, and why should church leaders care about this?
At its core, a church audit is a thorough review of your financial records to ensure everything is accurate, transparent, and above board. It's true what you said earlier, that it's less about fear and more about faithfulness.
I've heard about churches where that accountability was missing, and it caused some real damage to trust. People want to know their gifts are making an impact.
That's important, and audits help identify risks too. They highlight weak processes or, and hopefully this isn't the case, potential fraud. They tighten internal controls and safeguard resources.
I see. So transparency isn't just good ethics. It actually shows donors their support is fueling real ministry, not just some mystery line items in a budget.
And there's also the practical benefit of meeting IRS and denominational requirements. Both love to know you're keeping detailed records, and staying compliant means avoiding surprises or potential fines.
So what should be included in a comprehensive church audit? I imagine there's quite a checklist.
There are a lot of elements for sure. First, you're reviewing financial statements for accuracy. Think of these as the scoreboard for your church's finances. If the numbers don't add up, the game isn't going well.
That makes sense. What else?
Verifying donation records and receipting is crucial. Your congregation's donations are acts of faith and trust, not just line items in a spreadsheet. It's like double checking the RSVP list for a big event. You don't want to leave anyone out or mix things up.
And I imagine bank reconciliation is important too? That's always been a bit intimidating to me.
It is important, but it doesn't need to be intimidating. Reconciling your bank statements ensures no dollar goes unaccounted for. And actually, online giving tools can really simplify this process with donation reports and dashboards that even busy volunteer treasurers can manage.
That's really helpful. What about physical assets like buildings and equipment?
Evaluating land, building, and equipment records is essential. When did you last check your building's value or update your equipment inventory? Imagine finding out you've been insuring a shed that was torn down 5 years ago.
That would be embarrassing.
It happens more often than you'd think. The audit also covers payroll, insurance policies, and tax compliance. Payroll mistakes can lead to some awkward conversations with staff and ignoring tax compliance. That's an IRS headache no church wants.
So once you've done all this checking, you need to document it, right? How do you write a church audit report?
The report structure is pretty straightforward. You start with an executive summary of findings. Think of this as the big picture section for people who don't have time to read the whole thing. Highlight the wins and any hiccups you found.
Like that missing receipt from the youth group pizza night that no one can seem to find?
I hate it when that happens. The next step is to explain the scope and objectives, what the audit tackled, and why. No need for suspense here. Were you digging into donation records, assessing procedures, making sure no one's been sneaking extra donut money from the petty cash fund?
And then the findings and recommendations are next, right?
Yes, that's the heart of the report. The good, the bad, and the we need to fix this right now. Be upfront, but constructive if you uncover anything concerning. Pair every issue with a solution.
That's so important, making it constructive rather than just pointing out problems.
Then wrap it all up with a hopeful conclusion and next steps. Remind everyone this process is about progress, not perfection.
I love that. So, what's the actual step-by-step process for auditing church financial records? Where do you even begin?
The preparation phase is critical. Start by gathering all necessary documents, including donation records, bank statements, and tax filings. Having everything organized ahead of time saves so much stress.
I can imagine. Nothing worse than trying to hunt down documents in the middle of the process.
It really can be stressful. Next, define your audit objectives in collaboration with leadership. What do you want to achieve? Are you looking to improve transparency, strengthen internal controls? When everyone's on the same page, the audit will be more focused and effective.
And then the actual execution?
Start by reviewing internal controls and processes. Who's doing what and who's keeping an eye on them. Even when you trust your team, and you should, accountability is still essential.
Right, it's not about not trusting people, it's about having systems that protect everyone.
Precisely. Then test transactions for accuracy and compliance. Grab a sample of transactions and give them a thorough review. Check receipts, invoices, and checks carefully. Finding issues now saves a lot of headaches down the road.
And finally, verify account balances and donor records.
You've got it. If your bank statement says one thing, but your books say another, it's time to go on a reconciliation quest. Your donors need to know exactly where their contributions are going. Clarity builds trust.
What about after the audit is complete? What happens then?
Document your findings and recommendations. Think of it as a report card for your church's finances. Be honest about what needs improvement. Then report to the church board and stakeholders. You're not just handing them a report, you're giving them a snapshot of financial health.
Are there specific tools that can help with conducting audits? I imagine this could get overwhelming without the right resources.
I definitely recommend church management and accounting software, which can make gathering financial materials so much easier. They track donations, expenses, and records, so you're always audit ready without the stress.
That sounds helpful. What about online giving?
Online giving software is a game changer for tracking donations. You can quickly generate reports that show exactly where funds are coming from, which means no more hunting through piles of paperwork. These systems can integrate with your church management software too, making everything more streamlined. In fact, Vanco's giving software integrates with over 60 church management systems.
So let's talk about one aspect that might be on some listeners' minds: cost. How much does a church audit typically cost?
That varies based on several factors. The size of your congregation and financial complexity play a big role. If your church has multiple ministries, a daycare, or other operations, your audit will be more extensive and likely cost more.
So, what are we talking about in terms of actual numbers?
Full audits are the gold standard, running anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 or more. Financial reviews and agreed upon procedures cost less but don't dig as deep. Think of it as choosing between a complete physical and a quick checkup.
That's a significant investment for smaller churches. Are there any cost-saving alternatives?
There definitely are. Small churches often turn to internal reviews or collaborate with other churches for peer evaluations. This gets a fresh set of eyes on your data and can build connections across ministries.
I really like that idea of churches helping each other. What about frequency? How often should churches be conducting audits?
For larger churches, annual audits provide that complete picture of financial health. But if your church is smaller and not much changes year to year, a periodic review may be sufficient.
Are there specific factors that help determine that frequency?
Donor expectations and financial activity levels are key. If donations are increasing significantly, donors will want to know precisely where that money is going. Also, different denominations have different requirements, so make sure you're staying in line with those.
Let's talk about something that can be a bit uncomfortable. How do church audits help prevent fraud?
It's an uncomfortable topic, but an important one. Most fraud in churches happens in plain sight: a missing cash donation, a fake invoice, or someone forgetting to record something. Another thing to consider is donor data security. A breach of credit card data can wreck trust faster than you can say phishing scam.
That's a really good point. With so many churches using online giving now, data security is crucial.
It is. Using a PCI compliant platform that protects donor information is non negotiable. Protecting your flock also means protecting their wallets.
So once the audit is complete, how do you present those findings to stakeholders? Especially if there are certain issues that need addressing.
Communication is key. Keep it simple when writing audit summaries. Highlight what's working, what's not, and where improvements can make a significant impact. The goal isn't to overwhelm, it's to empower.
And for the congregation, how transparent should churches be about audit findings?
Donors want to know their money isn't vanishing into a black hole. Show them the improvements you've made and the steps you're taking to manage their gifts responsibly. A little transparency goes a long way in building trust and maybe even increasing donations.
That makes so much sense. And I imagine having actionable plans based on the findings is important too.
It's not just important, it's a must. Audits aren't just about pointing out problems, they're a roadmap to a healthier, stronger church. Use them to tighten processes, reduce risks, and keep your financial house in order. A well managed church is one that thrives.
This has been so helpful, Jordan. Any final thoughts for our listeners who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by the idea of tackling an audit?
Remember that the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Start small if you need to. Even implementing a basic checklist is better than doing nothing. And don't hesitate to reach out for help, whether that's from denominational resources, professional accountants, or even neighboring churches.
That's great advice. For those wanting to dive deeper, there are resources available, right?
Yes, many denominations offer guides and templates specifically for church audits. We also created a full church audit guide that can be helpful for churches like yours. Last of all, we've created a handful of free church finance templates that can help treasurers organize their finances more effectively.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into church audits. Thanks so much for joining us today on the Church Growth and Giving Show. If you found our talk helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe. This not only provides you with the latest updates, but also helps us to continue creating these guides.